Rescue efforts in Japan were stepped up as the end of a crucial 72-hour survival window neared for the Japan's quake, which has left at least 77 dead. Search for survivors under collapsed buildings is underway. More than 33,000 people have evacuated their homes and about 100,000 houses have no water supply.
In light of the major earthquake that struck on Monday, Prime Minister Fumio Kishida instructed the relevant ministries and agencies to assess the damage as soon as possible to ensure the safety of the public and rescue any victims. Japan's government has also opened a sea route to deliver aid, and some larger trucks were now able to reach some of the more remote areas.
The
situation in the affected area is very challenging, but from the perspective of saving lives, we are making all efforts to rescue and to provide life-saving aid to as many people as possible before the crucial 72-hour period following the disaster lapses this evening.
Residents in Japan's quake-affected areas are struggling for basic amenities like food, water and health facilities. People queuing for food said the lack of water following the quake was their biggest worry.
The biggest problem now is that there's not enough drinking water and no water to flush the toilets. I brought my mother here from her home where the water supply had been cut off. I don't know how to describe my feelings now. Having a place to live is good enough.
Local authorities have set up a temporary water supply facility near the local waterworks to provide tap water for the quake victims.
The water supply here was mostly cut off after the earthquake on Monday. Some areas have now been restored, but about 70% of the region still have no water.
Meanwhile, 2 days after a Japan Airlines plane collided with a Coast Guard plane and burst into flames on the tarmac, even as probe continues, travelers at Tokyo's Haneda Airport were forced to cope with flight cancellations and delays. According to local media reports, more than 100 flights have been cancelled as a result of the incident, stranding travelers. Japan Airlines has estimated that the collision of its flight with the Japan Coast Guard aircraft would result in an operating loss of about $104.81 million. The loss will be covered by the insurance, the company said.
All right, and DD India correspondent Chris Gilbert joins us with more details. Chris, what's the current status of the search and rescue operations there, and have there been any updates on the number of survivors found since the earthquake?
Well, the death toll is now past 80, and there has been a list of missing persons that has been released by the Ishikawa prefecture where the earthquake happened, and that is standing currently at 50. But look, there seems to be a dawning realization by the government that time is truly running out now. It has been more than 72 hours since the earthquake happened. And that is the window that is believed by experts to be absolutely crucial in finding survivors either isolated or cut off by the roads or under collapsed buildings or collapsed houses. And so the Prime Minister on Thursday morning, a few hours ago, said that he wanted rescuers throughout Thursday to absolutely double their efforts and really work with urgency as much as possible to find survivors and save as many lives as possible. And then he has extended the number of respondents from 1,000 to about 4,500. But it's a difficult challenge because many of these communities are still unreachable. The roads are damaged or blocked by mudslides or rock falls and adverse weather conditions. People have been found walking down the road in the middle of the night just to tell the outside world that they are okay. So it is truly difficult to grasp for locals and for officials there the extent of the damage and just what needs to be done to save lives and keep hope that lives can still be saved from here.
Okay, Chris, you just said that time is running out for government. Can you just elaborate a bit on that?
Yeah, I mean, they're trying their absolute best, but as I say, the roads are blocked, and just to get an idea of the extent of the damage, I mean, in the main cities of Wajima there's 300 buildings that have been demolished. In the city of Suzu, 90% of their 5,000 households have been demolished, and there's untold damage beyond that. And of course, the public infrastructure, such as power lines, have been felled all over the region, so it's difficult to put a price tag on it.
Okay. Chris, now can you just provide information on the extent of the damage caused by the earthquake, particularly in terms of infrastructure, buildings and roads, now that you've said that rescue efforts, according to the government, is being doubled up?
Yeah, and the budget is being doubled as well for relief. I mean, there is a turning focus now about what this is going to look like going on beyond the search and rescue efforts. By January 9, they want to double the relief budget and the recovery budget for the region. But as I say, the focus really is at the moment on finding anybody who is still under the rubble, as they're going into a fourth night now, fourth cold winter's night for people, and beyond this, there are still 30,000 people in evacuation centres, and the government is warning of a prolonged state of evacuation. We saw that following the Fukushima tsunami. People 12 years later are still in a state of evacuation, so there are concerns about, for the 30,000 that are currently evacuees at the moment, when and if they could ever go back to their homes.
Okay, Chris, now, can you also provide details on the sequence of the events leading up to the collision between the Japan Airlines plane and the earthquake relief aircraft at Haneda Airport? And are there any reports on the condition of the runway or other infrastructure at the Haneda Airport following the incident?
Well, just to answer your second question first, 3 out of the 4 runways are currently operational, but this is the busiest travel period of the year for Japan, being the New Year's holiday period, and it's a major hub. So there are delays of at least 2.5 hours currently for most major, for most domestic flights anyway. But the airport is at 3/4 functionality at the moment, with some flights being diverted to Narita Airport nearby. Now, in terms of what happened, that investigation is still certainly in the midst of determining why the Coast Guard plane was on the tarmac. Now, traffic control transcripts that have been released by authorities do confirm that Japan Airlines 516 did have permission to land, and that the Coast Guard plane seems to have been told to hold short, or it was not given clearance for takeoff. So questions do remain about why it was on the tarmac. The Coast Guard on Wednesday said it believed it had the green light, and so that needs to be cleared up. And experts are saying it takes more than one error for these things to happen. There are reports that perhaps some guidance lights on the tarmac were out, but again, this investigation is going to take a while longer to get some firm answers.
All right, thank you so much, Chris, for all those details.